Black Widow has been dogged on ever since the start of Marvel Rivals for quite a while now. However, when she is paired with Storm or the recently buffed Mantis, she becomes an absolute menace that people are seriously sleeping on. My name is Paz, an Eternity player and Widow Lord on the competitive ladder, and I'm going to tell you all of the things you need to know in order to pop off and carry your ranked games as Black Widow. Starting things off, if you are playing Widow over other hit scan options, you really have to understand what she offers that other characters don't. While Hela has better sustained damage and more solo carry potential, Widow has much better mobility and a much more consistent stun to set up for free 1v1s. Phoenix, on the other hand, has all around just a better kit than both Hela and Widow, to be honest, but she doesn't have nearly as strong of long range pressure compared to you on Black Widow. How you angle on Black Widow depends on the composition that you have. When playing Widow in a brawl, you want to make sure that you are always angling in a way that you are shooting characters your team can easily follow up on while they are brawling. When playing Widow in a dive composition, you can go much deeper and look to take out squishies on your own or weaken them for the rest of your team to take them out. Finally, for Widow in a poke composition, pray that you get a damage boost and then just get right to shooting, brother. Sure, you have to be able to aim if you are going to get a lot done on Widow, but understanding where to set up to maximize your uptime is essential. Theoretical yap out of the way, let's get into her kits. Starting things off with her Widow's Bite batons, straight up, just don't use them, guys. Just never pull them out. They deal 90 damage per second, which is less than her rifle, and the only redeemable quality is that they deal area of effect damage to those directly in front of you. Honestly, you never should really have a situation where you're getting surrounded anyway, so just pull out the sniper, so let's talk about that next. The Red Room rifle is her true primary option that deals 120 damage on a body shot and 240 damage on a headshot. This means with a damage boost from Storm without amplification, she is able to one-shot any target to the dome with 250 HP or less. With a Mantis damage boost, a headshot deals 280 damage, so you're going to get those 275 targets as well. Yes, this means that with a damage boost, Widow can one-shot pretty much any support ultimate in the game by simply shooting the head. The only exception to this rule is Luna, since you do have to shoot off her shield first, which is why some Widow players ban Luna Snow just right out. After every single shot, the bolt gets pulled back on the sniper, allowing you to fire again after 0.83 seconds. There's no way around this, it is just a part of the kit. The sniper also has 15 shots before it has to be reloaded. You can reload cancel if you melee early about 70% through this reload animation, but the fight is usually over by your 15th bullet anyways, so it's not like the most important tech to learn. What many players don't realize is that while hip firing the sniper, there is fall off that starts from 10 meters away, decreasing damage to 50% of normal at 20 meters away, which is actually pretty close for a sniper, so you're really only going to want to use this if players are pretty close to you. With her next ability, Straight Shooter, she can scope in, and then that will completely negate the fall off for the weapon no matter where you're shooting from. While many players think that you should scope in as often as possible on Widow, that actually isn't the case at all. Obviously, if the target is close enough, you want to be hip firing, and if the target is really far away, you want to be using your scope to avoid that damage fall off. The main thing you really want to avoid though is sitting on an angle and hard scoping for multiple shots at a time. This is because while you are aiming down sights, your peripheral vision is greatly reduced, leaving you susceptible to getting dove by characters like Psylocke, Captain America, and the honestly really common Black Panther right now. You also move a whole lot slower while you're scoped in too, making you an even more easy target to die. Because of this, it can sometimes be a good idea to unscope after every shot or two, just so you can get a quick look of your surroundings and make sure that you understand what's going on throughout the fight. Finally, for tips regarding aiming, the first tip I have for you is to just calm down. Seriously, take a deep breath. It makes everything a whole lot easier. You do not need to actually hit every single shot in order to get value out of Widow, although a lot of people think that. Take a deep breath and then take the shot you need to take. Don't tense up your wrist too much, relax, and let the practice that you're doing through all of these hours on playtime do the work for you. The way you should approach aiming any flick-based character in this game is to start by taking a very fast flick to get close to your target, and then you're going to make a very small micro adjustment to smoothly get to your target's head. Think of it as a multi-step fluid process instead of just one flick to the head every single time. And you're going to be a lot more fluid, which is going to make you a lot faster and more accurate as a result. This also allows you to read your target's movement much easier, since your eyes can more easily see them compared to one sharp flick that is rarely going to be accurate every single time. For example, if a target is constantly jumping, they have to come back down to the ground. So unless you're gonna just go one big flick, you can actually easily set up your crosshair in a spot where you can predict they are falling and then make a small micro adjustment if you absolutely need to. If a target is running back from spawn in a very straight line, it's the same situation. It is obvious where they are going to end up, so you just line up your reticle where they're gonna walk through and then click when they skate over that. In terms of sensitivity, I currently run 800 DPI with 2.26 sensitivity in game, which is considered incredibly fast by pro player standards. And by the amount of people I hear running faster sensitivity than me, you know, I think it's important to discuss this. Really, it just comes down to what you're comfortable with, but anything above mine, and we're starting to push it, fellas. My crosshair code is also going to be in the description if you specifically want to copy that. Aim is a big part of the equation on Widow, but setting yourself up on safe and active angles is going to allow you to take more shots without being constantly pressured, which is a far more impactful skill to master because the shot you take when no one's looking at you is a whole lot easier than the shot you take with everyone looking at you. Let's talk about the ability that messes up people's aim the most though on this character, Fleet Foot. Bound to shift by default on PC, Widow can run around the map for 10 seconds on an energy meter. While running, she also moves 33% faster and can jump considerably higher if she chooses to. When the energy bar is depleted, it charges quickly over 4 seconds. The ability is best used when rotating from angle to angle between fights or during the fight when your angle isn't as strong anymore. While it can be used to go crazy for these crazy over-the-top jump shots over shields, rarely is this something you should consistently be doing, as it makes hitting shots much harder and depletes your energy fast, leaving you vulnerable to dives. If I'm ever going to use this jump in the mid-fight, it is typically so I can dodge ground-based attacks like Venom and Captain America slams, Iron Man left clicks, Loki damage, things of that nature, since I can negate their damage and respond with a counterattack on my own. Honestly, the ability is super simple. Get to the angle you want to be on depending on what you have and start shooting. Seriously, make this character simple. The hard part is just getting set up. This ability is what makes Widow unique compared to other hit scans though. She is the only character with hit scan that is capable of this level of rotational ability and range at the same time compared to everyone else, at least currently. So if you can take an angle safely, do it. Hela has her bird, but it's a super long cooldown, and Phoenix does have her flight, but she doesn't have the range of Widow. Understand the strengths of Widow and make sure you use it to the best of your ability. Moving on to my favorite ability in Widow's kit, we have her kicks, Edge Dancer. Pressing E by default, Widow performs a spinning kick that knocks any enemy up around her, dealing 35 damage and a 5-meter range all around Widow. Again, I want to make sure you realize this is a circle around Widow, not just right in front of her. If this kick connects, she then gets access to a second kick that can deal 35 damage as well, but this one has a 12-meter range and stuns the target for 1 second when it connects. The second kick is capable of stunning key ultimates, like Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch, and even support ultimates if you time it right. Loki is the easiest one though, because then you can stun it right when he leaves and goes into a squishy form to instantly kill him with the rest of your team. If he for some reason does copy a tank like you see on screen though, yeah, you're not killing him, but at that point, he's kind of just trolling. The super nice part about this kick though is that after hitting the first kick, you have access to that second stunning kick for 5 seconds before it actually goes away. This means you can charge it on some random target and then cancel a Strange ultimate without him knowing, which is super satisfying to pull off. The far more common way to use the kick though is to confirm a pick on a squishy target. You can do this by shooting them in the body, kicking them, and then body shotting them again. The full combo deals 275 damage and is extremely consistent since you don't even have to hit a headshot. If you do hit the headshot though, you can just kick and then headshot. It's just a little bit less consistent because, well, you have to hit that headshot. It's kind of hard to do sometimes. Just because you can use the ability though this way doesn't mean that you always should. If they do have a stunnable ultimate like Doctor Strange's, it is arguably more impactful to look to cancel that, or if they have a diver like Black Panther that is going to go for your backline, charging your kick up on a tank in the front line or any target you can really get, and then peeling for your supports is a very strong play as well. Arguably Widow's probably the best character to counter BP with this method. Since this is the only cooldown you really have in Black Widow's kit, going for specific plays with this ability is much easier to manage, and you really should try to maximize your value with it. Before we move on to her ultimate though, let's talk about Widow's team up with the Punisher, giving her access to the pulse rifle. Upon pressing C by default, Widow gains access to her laser pulse rifle for 5 seconds that pierces enemies, dealing 85 damage per shot while aiming down sights. This means that she can 3-shot any target with 250 HP, since the pulse shots do not headshot. The pulse rifle overall shoots faster, and the shots are larger, making it easier to hit enemies in my opinion. Overall, making this a very solid team up, especially when brawling down main, where you can hit multiple targets at a time. There is a one-shot combo you actually can do if you hit a headshot and then immediately press C and shoot again while scoping. Overall, I'd say that this team up is super underrated and needs to be used more. The only thing I would suggest is that you ban Magneto if you plan on using these two characters together, since he can just throw up shield and make your combo a whole lot worse. To be honest, if you wanted to play the Punisher, you're probably going to be banning Magneto this season anyways, so why not ban it? Let's finally move on to her ultimate though, the Electro Plasma Explosion. Upon pressing Q, Widow will pull out her explosive launcher, where she can then charge a blast or press right click to stow the gun for later. The longer you hold the fire button on the launcher, the more damage it does. If you fire right away, it deals 120 damage, where if you hold it for about half a second, it deals 170 damage. This isn't all though. The blast also leaves behind plasma that slows enemies by 55% and makes them 15% more vulnerable to all damage for 4 seconds on direct hit. The blast has a pretty large radius too, and the debuffs are strong, setting up a ton of characters for free picks. It also only takes 2,800 points to charge the ultimate as well, so it will come online after about 23 body shots or about 12 headshots. In other words, you can very easily charge one of these things every single fight. As a result, you should look to rip this ultimate frequently on key targets. Key targets include, but are not limited to, supports that have ultimates in the backline that are low enough to just immediately take out, roaming ultimates that require speed to close the distance, and divers that are pressuring you or your supports, amongst many others. One of my favorite ultimates to counter with this ultimate is Jeff once he eats your team. It might be hard to just shoot him out of the ground alone with your rifle, but with an ultimate, it can slow him down and help you do a little bit more damage. You can also use your ultimate to splash supports, not to kill them, but to force out their ultimates. Then with that 15% vulnerability, you can actually just one-shot characters like Cloak and Dagger and Invisible Woman out of their ultimates completely, even if you don't have a Mantis on your team. I don't see a ton of high-level Widow players going for this play either, even though it makes a huge difference in fights. That's because honestly, it can be a little difficult to pull off, but if supports don't know what's coming, it's actually a very good play to make. The ability to take out key support ultimates makes Widow a serious threat if you can get consistent with your shots. Overall, ripping ultimates to peel for dives or take out big groups of enemies alongside your team is a way to find consistent value on Widow. The worst thing you can do though with this ultimate is hold on to it. Seriously, just get ripping it. All right, now that we have discussed all of Black Widow's abilities, let's start talking about what counters her. Starting off with the tanks, Magneto is really annoying when running the team up, since he is the meta shield tank at the current moment and prevents you from taking more main facing angles. The same goes for Doctor Strange as well, but his shield is very breakable so long as your team is on top of things. I find that characters like Captain America and Venom are much more annoying since they can get me out easily and I cannot take them out very quickly either. Any of them by themselves honestly isn't that big of an issue, but it's when they're paired together or with other divers when they really become an issue. As for DPS, I believe that Hela and Phoenix counter you without a damage boost, but when you do have the damage boost, Widow becomes a real force to be reckoned with, seriously. Psylocke is also really the best counter for Widow in my opinion though, since she doesn't really have to get too close to you to the point that you're in kick range, and she can also just dive you, do crazy damage. It's a very bad matchup for you on Widow. Other DPS you'd think are counters to Widow, like BP and Iron Fist, actually don't really counter you at all, even though you are a character with a sniper. This is because the kick is really helpful in winning these duels and helping your team help you. Problems do arise with these characters when multiple of them are sent your way because you can only stun one at a time. As for supports, I really despise playing against Luna Snow because she has the most difficult ultimate to take out in the game on Widow, since I have to break that shield first. With a good team, it's not really an issue, but guys, we're playing Widow in ranked, and half half the time, they just want us to switch. Loki can also be pretty dang annoying here in this situation too, because he's just gonna copy that Luna ult, and taking out the clones on top of runes is just a real pain and wastes your ammo. As for who Widow likes to play with, Punisher gets the obligatory shout out for the team up they both share together. For the tanks though, I don't really have a problem playing with any tank lineup in the game, as they all have their pros and cons. Even Thor is decent with Black Widow because of the synergy their ultimates have together, but I probably don't want a Thor if I'm gonna be completely honest with you, and I also don't think I'm gonna want a Thing either. For DPS, outside of the Punisher, I really appreciate having a target that can easily clean up body shot damage I put on squishies if the composition we're currently running allows for it to be appropriate. For example, Psylocke is really good to pair with Widow, even though she counters you when you have a Captain America as well. In these situations, you never even have to hit a headshot, since the squishies on the enemy team are gonna fall over with the pressure of both the Captain America and the Psylocke together. Storm is also a banger pick with the Widow, since the damage boost makes you able to one-shot headshot half of the cast as well. It is a little annoying to play with the Storm though, because you're not gonna get the best angles ever, since you have to be in her damage aura. For supports, Mantis does the same thing as Storm, but is far more consistent, and I prefer Mantis since I can run a triple support composition with a Punisher to make me even more lethal on the Widow. Outside of Mantis, Cloak and Dagger isn't as bad either, because the flashbang damage boost allows me to one-shot headshot, and Luna should be banned anyways when I'm playing Widow, making Cloak and Dagger a very strong pick in general. Now, we usually do a section for DPS and who they play well against, but for Widow, it depends on the circumstance more than the specific character. If you have a damage boost, Widow commands the entire lobby. Without one, she's a lot weaker and much less of a threat. Widow also does really well when compositions are not one-sided. For example, full brawl with characters like the Thing that just run you down, Widow struggles into because the tanks will block all of your damage. Against full dive, the kick just isn't enough to stay alive, since you can only target one person every 15 seconds. In ranked though, when there's a mix of everything, in my opinion, now I might be crazy, I think Widow is absolutely insane here. If the enemies have the Thing, but then they also have a character like BP, it is super ideal, since the Widow can kick the BP, taking him down, and then ignore the Thing for the rest of the fight. Understanding the nuance takes time to truly get better at it, but Widow is a character we really have to stop sleeping on, especially in ranked. Now that we understand Widow and her kit, as well as where she is applicable, let's take a look at a couple of VODs to get an even better understanding of her kit. All right, y'all, so today we're going to be looking at Absolute. He's an Eternity / one above all Widow, Spider-Man, and Bucky player. And honestly, there's a lot to learn from this character here. And we can see this is a one above all lobby, as I can see Gilbert Noodle and ZR Midnight, two players that I recognize. And I'm sure there's other great players in here as well on ult counter. I just don't know. As we can see, immediately on Burn into T'Challa, we're just taking this high ground and we're focusing on high uptime, not going for these super crazy flank plays. I mean, the Strange obviously TP'd back this way, so that's why the fight is so weird. But we're looking at how can we maximize our uptime being as safe as possible. But I really want to highlight this kick here. This kick is nuts to actually stun the Strange and go for a kill. This kick is to rev it up because he knows he's going to get peeled here, and guess what's going to happen after? They're going to call out, yo, damage boosted Widow, we need to make sure we take care of that up top. Who's going to take care of that? Probably a squishy target. Phoenix comes up here, body shot, kick, body shot combo. I couldn't have set it up better myself. Absolute, the GOAT, good stuff. This is a great first pick. Unfortunately, they probably are going to lose this fight here, but realize that after this pick, we're not really like going in right now because we've already have like the most aggressive angle we really can get on this map, unless you try to rotate all the way over here, which if you try to rotate all the way over here, Absolute's going to die. So I really like the position Absolute's in. Got a great health pack, great view of the supports on point. Realize that we're not hitting every single shot, and it's still going to work for us. The Widow is still making good plays, getting good damage in, and good pressure all the same. It's going to force the enemy team not to walk up here because they will die otherwise. Taking a little bit of an angle, and bam. This is all that we need. All we need to be doing is constantly like, okay, this Widow's right here. All right, that's the position that the supports are hiding from. Where did the Widow go? I don't really know. Oh, she's on the left. Bam, one shot. Stuff like this with the Mantis pocket is what makes Widow so good, and we'll resume the rest of this fight in the next VOD. All right, so after getting this pick on the Loki, it takes a little bit of time. We cut all that stuff out, and we're finally fighting back main with our team. I think this is okay because we are a pick up with our team. We're fighting a 6v5. Any damage you get in the front line is going to be useful and is going to give you that numbers advantage. There's no need to continue sitting on here because then look what the Luna does. The Luna gets out of the line of sight. You need to reset your angle if you're playing this weird kind of comp with like brawly double poke. It's weird. He kind of has to make whatever he can do do with it. So he's going to start going through main here with the rest of his team. He's going to get a good angle on this Phoenix to not kill her, but he is going to force her out. Bam, that's the dash. That's really good. We have the high ground now. We force him out of that position. Not really focusing on the Luna, which I'm actually kind of curious about. I know she has a shield, but I guess he is just making it his job to absolutely pressure this Phoenix so that he feels that he can't really do anything with this. In fights like this, honestly, all you have to do on Widow is stay alive because there's not a whole lot you're going to really do with it. Once that Luna ult goes down, though, he immediately counters and gets a pick on a squishy. And from here on, it's really just like a, what is it now? It's still a 6v5. Just going to be shooting really whatever he can, just trying to stay alive. Does he actually can he one-shot this? Can he shoot this fast enough? I'm actually curious. He's looking to shoot it. I guess it's kind of worth shooting that because you're probably going to do like 120 damage to it. The rest of your team can take the remaining 180. Personally, what I probably would have tried to do there in that like downtime is possibly taking an angle up here to force out the jump, or possibly taking a fight back here. It was just kind of a weird situation with ults. I think that's the hardest thing with Widow, is finding situations in which you find value when ults are going down. That's like the most difficult thing you can really figure out on the character. And as you can see, I mean, the enemy team, he pressured out all 6 ults. With all the damage he was doing, he was still forcing out support ults. He was still making sure pressure was known. And I'm curious this next and final fight, this next VOD, what he's going to be able to do in order to turn the fight for his team, because they do win this game, and possibly do something crazy with his ult. All right, y'all, like we said, we're going to watch this next fight and what he does with ult. And I'm telling you, the rest of this game, the way he plays this is really insane. And we're going to be talking about this VOD for a while now. All right, so we have ult. We know that the enemies don't have support ult. He kind of like stutter steps. He's like, is this really worth an ult here? I'm not so sure. We're down 1. We got to pick there. It's like, okay, it looks like he doesn't need any help. Gets a body shot on the Widow, immediately blasts that guy behind a wall because it does a 120 on base. 120 body shot is 240. Just a little bit of charge that is going to be able to kill the Luna. Very well done. Easy way to turn the fight. Now we're up so many. I mean, you can just walk in and kill whoever you want. Good no scope here. But after the ult, I want you guys to see immediately when a fight is won. Look what the Widow player is doing. We're going up on a high ground where we have easy sight line on where they're going to be walking through to get our ultimate again. Yes, one shot is great on Widow, but what's even better is getting our ult insanely fast, because that's what this character is capable of, guys. So immediately what we're going to see, shooting in spawn, not killing anyone, that's fine, but 15% ult, 20% to ult, 21, and we just used it last fight. Like, guys, this is crazy. We're almost like halfway to another ult if we just hit like 2 more headshots here, which is really well done. Team starts walking in. We start assuming a less aggressive position where we can still see where they were going in. We were constantly looking at safe, long uptime angles here because fall off is not an issue. We're already 50% to our ultimate. The next thing I want to show you guys is watch how he actually uses the sprint to cancel the scope every single time he looks to actually shoot. Look, shoot, sprint cancel, shoot, sprint cancel, shoot, cancel, shoot, sprint cancel. I don't think you need a sprint cancel every single time. You can just kind of unscope. I think it makes it harder to hit you if the Phoenix is looking at you. The other thing too is realize that every single time he shoots, he is unscoping so that he can see his peripherals to see if anyone is rolling up on him from the sides. If he can't see that, he's probably going to die anyways if someone rolls up on him, but just that is a good habit to get into so you have more of an understanding of what is around you. And then for the rest of this fight, I mean, it's just pretty much just shooting whatever you can. Yes, he's missing a lot of shots, but it doesn't matter. The space that he is in and the pressure he puts on the enemy team, they're not allowed to play on a lot of places they want to play, because if they try to play over here, their supports are going to die. Their supports have to play this pillar, which makes it a lot easier for the Hela and the rest of the team to actually get a lot of value. And lower elo, I don't think they're going to respond to you as much, so you will just be able to get a lot more shots yourself. But again, right here, it's all about safe, high uptime angles. The last thing I really want to highlight here is look how the Groot eventually, when the fight starts opening up, is going to try to get on Absolute here, but he's actually going to use the kick not for a pick, but just to stun the Groot so he can live. He's 28 HP, he kicks the Groot to perma-stun him, and then he's going to get heals and going to be able to back up. And with all this space that he created, because the Groot's trying to go after him, the Hela in the air is now going to be able to get a lot of value as well. This is why I look as Widow as like, she's this weird character that doesn't really get kills herself all the time, although she can, but she really just marks positions. And it's almost like you're playing Splatoon, where you're like painting areas on the map that the enemies are allowed and not allowed to play in, so that your other DPS has an even easier time following up. Obviously, in lower elo, your other DPS doesn't know what the heck they're doing anyways, but when you get to these higher elos, I really do think that Widow becomes this character that people are sleeping on and people need to play a whole lot more on. So again, I don't really know anything about Absolute in terms of his Twitch or if he's a YouTuber or anything, but I will say that I am very impressed by the Widow, and I do think Widow is a character worthy of at least being in the conversation within the next coming metas. So I'll see you guys as we close out the video. And that closes out today's guide for Widow in Marvel Rivals. If you have any questions, make sure to send them in the comments down below, as well as asking me live right now here on YouTube or on Twitch at twitch.tv/PazSwagger. I stream every single day I upload, so be sure to check me out to learn more about everything I talked about today. Thank you guys all so much for watching, but until next time, I've got a peace out and Paz out. I'll see you in the next one.